Namaste. Good to see all of you. Good morning. Welcome to winter. Um, I am feeling rather hopeful about a number of things, right? Hearing about the rollout of a vaccine and no shenanigans with the Electoral College have all made me feel rather hopeful. And yet, I'm also maybe like some of you feeling the number of months that we have been doing what we are doing and feeling the state of things and knowing that we still have a few months ahead of us to be doing these things without the pleasure and the joy of going outside and sitting in the sun. So I'm very in tuned with myself in that moment of thinking about rest and the need for rest. So that plays into how we're going to practice this morning, but also the mobility in your spine, the mobility in your rib cage, and how both of those things contribute to your breath or lack of breath, right? When we lose the spaces between our ribs or we lose a sense of length in our spine, that comes along with wearing lots of heavy clothing and hunkering down through the winter months. We also lose a sense of our breath, right? And our breath is the key to freedom. So the more room in your ribs, the more room in your spine, the more mobility, flexibility, and possibility in your spine, more breath, right? So those are some of the thinking points for how we're going to approach the practice this morning. So I invite you to sit in the way that makes the most sense for you to sit, and to bring your hands into the center of your heart. You could also lay a hand on your belly and a hand on your heart. And you can let your eyes soften, your gaze can drop, or your eyes might even close. Take a breath that goes all the way into the deepest deep of your body. Let your hands come to rest somewhere on your knees, in your lap, or on your thighs. Listen. Loka samasta Sukhino bhavantu. Join me. Loka samasta Sukhino bhavantu. A couple more. Loka samasta Sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta Sukhino bhavantu. Bring your hands into your heart once more. May all beings be happy. May all beings be wild and free. May all beings come to know and realize an end to their suffering. And may the thoughts and the words and the actions that make up my life, our lives, help to bring about that happiness, that freedom, and that end. Press your palms together. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Breathe all the way in and all the way out, and you can release your hands. And then as you start to move around, if you're sitting up on something, slide down from it and stretch your legs out long. Good morning, Jennifer. Things that I've got around me are a bolster, a block, a blanket, a strap, and some sort of chair type thing. Right? So as you come to sit, have your bolster off to the side, have all of your props in reach. And then begin to move the bolster underneath your legs. Right? So you can prop it so it's right underneath your thighs. Sitting on your sitting bones and moving around with that. And that might be exactly what you need, what you like. But you're going to move yourself toward a forward bend in your own time. So it might be a lot of sitting up tall and feeling the length of your spine and letting that be where you stay. Or you can hinge forward along the way. And if it already feels like it's possible in your body to fold over, you can bring a block down on its high height in between your shins. Maybe your head gets to that. Maybe your bolster or your block comes on top of the bolster. And you can situate it that way. You can lay your hands on top of the block down there and let your head come to rest on it. Or you could even bring in whatever chair type thing you've got and put your forehead right on the edge of it, folding over, using your forearms to help with that. And wherever you land, however you set it up, there's no one place that you have to stay. So if you start high up on the edge of the chair, you could eventually fold over deeper. You might start down low and feel like it's more than what you want, and you could go up higher. But finding a place where you could begin to carve out some length through your spine and through your legs, and have this sense of release and relief. A spot where you can breathe fully. That's it. Patricia, is it possible for you to slip your legs underneath that bench to narrow them, would they fit? It just might give you a little more access. Yeah. If you've got the possibility where your head is resting, you can move your head side to side. Loosen up any tightness in your neck. Occasionally, it might feel nice and natural to exhale out of your open mouth. Just to loosen up the connection at your jaw. You can flutter your lips. And then take a scan, take stock, and see if there's more room to fold if you like. You can take it a little bit deeper. Not required, not necessary, but just to find more length through your back body. To find more release and more relief. Staying for just a few more breaths here. Last couple of exhales. And then let your hands start to move before anything else. So if they're up high, they can come down low. If you're over a bolster and you're in a deep fold, you can bring your hands onto the bolster. And then use the lengthening of your arms to sit yourself up tall. And then pause there for a moment. Let your blood flow move away from your head. Good. And then you can move your block out of the way. Pull the bolster out from underneath. And then make your way onto all fours. And as you do, feel free to pad your knees. And set yourself up so you feel like you're planted with your shoulders over your wrists and your hips over your knees. And give yourself one more moment there. And then stretch out your left leg long behind you. So when you get there, you can be on your curled under toes or just resting. And then start to move your left leg across your body so it moves over toward the right corner of your mat. And then look over past your right shoulder and see your heel bone back there. And notice your waist. So notice how short you just got through your right waist and how long you just got through your left waist. Pausing there. Notice if there's any strain in your right shoulder. Keep moving your shoulder away from your ear. That might mean that you take the gaze back down around toward the floor and just focus on your waist. You can move in and out of your gaze there. Good, and then center yourself out again so you can move your leg, drop your knee. And this time stretch your right leg back. Keep the top of your left foot pressing down, and then cross over behind yourself with your right leg. And then look past your left shoulder. So you're lengthening out through your right waist this time. Notice the weight on your back toes. When it wants to go all the way over to your baby toe, anchor a little bit stronger into your big toe. Really press down through the heel of your hand, especially through your left hand, and you'll have some external rotation through your lower arm, through the forearm bones, and that's going to move your shoulder away from your ear. Good, bring that back to center. Even yourself out with all fours. And then start again. So as your left leg crosses over behind you, and you look back over your right shoulder, reach your left fingers forward to the front of the mat. And you can tense your fingers there. And then begin to cross your left fingers over in front of the right corner of your mat. See if you can go, Patricia, without hopping your fingers, right? So it's almost like they slither over there. And then really press your left waist out to the left side. Actively shortening through your right ribs. And then bring your left hand back to the mat. Line up your left knee underneath your left hip. And then go the other way now. So your right leg can stretch out behind and cross over behind you. Lean your left shoulder right into the space over your left wrist. Stretch your right fingers to the front. You're looking over your left shoulder. And then cross over. So you can slide your right hand over toward the left corner of your mat. Puff long through your right waist. Breathing into that roominess. One more moment there. And then even it all back out, all fours. Pause with your all fours. Good, and then from there, you can begin to move your hips backward towards your heels and set up a bolster out in front of you. So if you open your knees a little bit, the bolster can fit between your knees. You could always use the block to bring the bolster a little bit higher, but you do want your hips to connect to your heels, and then you're on your way to a child's pose. If you still had the blanket there, you could pad underneath your knees, underneath your shins, so that as you move into the shape, you want to feel as level as possible from your hips to your shoulders. Definitely bring the floor up. Right? So even just taking my hands underneath the bolster, I can kind of, like some of us sleep this way, when you put your hands underneath your pillow, you can grab a fist, grab a wrist, and that'll naturally bring it up a little bit. And then you can turn to the side of your head and rest on one side or on the other, whichever side suits you best. Sinking into this child's pose. And notice how when you breathe in and you make contact with the bolster, there isn't as much room to expand on your front body. And so you definitely start to feel some more room across your low back in that expansion. But see if you can also breathe toward your outer ribs. Visualize your rib cage so that when you breathe in, you can see the spaces between your ribs. At any point, you can switch to the other side of your face and check out resting on that side just to balance your neck. Notice what your shoulders feel like in relationship to your ears. If your hands stay close to the bolster and your elbows flare out away from the bolster, you'll get a little bit more room across your shoulder blades. Really slow down your breath, tempo of it. Notice the weight of your hips towards your heels. Sometimes lifting off the bolster for a moment, finding some room away from it, will give you a deeper connection to the tops of your feet, your shins, and then your hips to your heels. Then you can melt into it again. So there's a real sense of being part of the ground. Stay here for a few more breaths. Give yourself a couple of audible exhales. And then start to center out your head. Move your hands back towards your knees, so your elbows have a nice bend to them. Press your arms long, ease yourself up. You can move the bolster out of the way. Sweep your feet to the side. And then have a seat and go for crossed legs. Right? Pull your blanket in close and roll it. So it's kind of a skinny, bolstery roll. Cross your legs in such a way that it almost feels like you're setting up for a modified ankle to knee. So I've got my heels moving kind of underneath where my knee joints are, so whatever leg is closer, I can really get that. And it's just creating more of a boxy shape through your legs. Lay the bolster across your waist, across your belly line, across your thighs, and then take it over to your right thigh, so it kind of cuts across at a diagonal. Bring it in as close to your hip bone as possible, like it's tucking underneath your ribs. Kind of smush it down there, so that as you begin to lean over to your right side, you're side bending over the top of this blanket roll, right? And then your elbow can prop to your knee, and you can make a fist with your right hand, and use your hand to prop your head. It's kind of like thinker pose. Use your left hand somewhere over on your thigh near the hip just to press down some. And when you press down, try to get more length through your left side body. And what you might find in that is over a few breaths, as you press down through the left side, lengthen through your left waist, that you get more of an arc over this blanket, where it feels like, oh, I could almost put my elbow down past my knee, and that's where the block could come in, right? So I can tip the block right outside my knee and have this side bend. What you want to watch out for is closing down as if you were folding face first towards your knee. Keep it very much a side bend. And as you get into a perhaps deeper side bend, your elbow down on the block, your left hand might not do as much. It can just rest over on your left knee. You can drape your left arm down alongside your left waist there, so your arm is really heavy. You might find that you're starting to get a little bit of roominess through the outer edge of your neck on the left side too. Right? And you can reacquaint yourself with this arcing. At any point you can lift and retuck underneath your ribs, take the side bend again. Your gaze can rotate a little bit toward the ceiling, so the hand that's supporting you, the fist, is not so much on your temple, but posterior to that, moving toward the back edge of the temporal bone. You can use your left hand kind of smooth up from your hip along your rib cage there, cultivating some space. But do notice your left sitting bone. Right, so notice if it wants to come off the ground. See if you can keep it fairly heavy. Give yourself just a couple more exhales here. Good. Take your left hand over to your right knee. Lift your head off the fist. As you start to come up to sit, turn to your right, and you can just tense your right fingers behind you and let your twist turn to the right. Bobble your head there at the top of your spine. Good. And then come through the middle. You can change the crossing of your legs if you like, putting the other leg in front. You can have your block off toward the left side, ready there. Move your blanket roll across your left thigh, deep at your hip point, underneath your ribs. And then start initially just by leaning over, elbow towards your knee. Make a fist there. And then you can use your fist as a head prop. Your right hand can press down around your right hip. Roll open some space. Feel the arcing motion of the side bend. And you can stay with your elbow to your knee, or you can reach and let your elbow come to the block. A little movement of your chin away from your chest, so that you find the space in your throat, and then let your head get heavy against your fist there. Remember to continue turning. Open as much space as you can at your breastbone. Not so much at your shoulder, but feeling like your chest is turning. And your shoulder will go along with it. Try not to start with your shoulder. If it was helpful, you can pull your fingertips along your outer right ribs. Create some space. Make sure your jaw is unhinged. You can always retuck the blanket. Find perhaps a little deeper lean. Being here for just a little bit longer. Good. And then let your right hand cross over to your left knee. You can drop your gaze to lighten your head off your fist. Sitting up and turning to your left. Tense your left fingers behind you. Revolving. Good. Undo the twist. Move the blanket out of your way. Your block can hide off to the side. And you'll need your strap. And there's the tiny loop that you put into your strap. Stretch out your legs. Take the loop and put it onto your left foot, and then lie back. So once you've got the loop around your left foot and you're on your back, inchworm your shoulders over to the right a little bit. So you start to curve your upper body, excuse me, creating a little bit of a shorter waist on the right side. And cross your left ankle over the top of your right ankle. And that should give you a little bit more room down the outer side of your left hip. Take the strap with your right hand and kind of pull it up beyond your head. So it's naturally moving across your body there. And then both arms can get long. So if you stretch both arms and you hold the strap there, you should feel length through your left waist. The strap has gone across my body to the right, both hands holding the straps and both arms long. And then I can inchworm another inch to the right with my head and shoulders. And I'm going to level out my pelvis. So drop your left hip, lift the right one, and feel level across your sacrum. So both arms stretching long. Right there, keep your left hand on the strap. Sneak your right arm and just lay it on top of your body. So like you're taking an oath, put your right hand across your heart. And that means that your arm is no longer touching the strap. If you move your right hand to the right now, you can begin to press the strap out to the right side. And you might have to soften your grip with your left hand. So your left arm still comes in close to your head. and your right arm presses out. You can inchworm the back of your skull and the back of your shoulders over to the right a couple more times. So you have a distinct side bend to the right. Opening up a lot of room in your left waist. Breathing in and out. Great. See if your left elbow, Joan, can get just a little bit longer. So if you stretch your left arm, if there's room to slide on the strap. So you're not pulling the strap anymore, but your hand could slide if there's room. Give yourself a couple more exhales here. And then both elbows can soften. Your hands can come close to your body. Inchworm yourself back to center with your head and shoulders. You can bend your left knee to unloop your left foot. And then loop your right foot. Start with both legs long. And do a couple shoulder shimmies on your back. Cross your right ankle over your left ankle. Move your shoulders to the left side a little bit so you start to create this early banana. You can use your left hand on the strap. Pull it up toward your nose as it gets longer. Add your right hand, so both hands, like hoisting the strap. Your hands will move to the left naturally. And then you can inchworm to the left a little bit. Getting longer with your reach there. Play with leveling out your pelvis so there's a lift of your left hip so you can get heavier on the right. Move your left arm so it kind of goes onto your body for a moment. Little pledge there. And then you can use your left hand to push the strap out to the left side. Just soften your grip with your right hand as you do that. So your arms end up almost V-shaped. Or you can think about your left arm going out to, it depends on, I guess, if how you're looking at the clock, could be 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock or just before that. And then you can inchworm a couple more times over to the left, finding room through your right waist. If it feels funky at all around your low back, make sure that you've truly evened out your pelvis. Because if your pelvis is sort of cattywampus on the floor, then you'll start to take it in your left hip around your SI joint. So you want to make sure that you're level. If ever you get any tingling sensations in your right fingers or up through your right arm, you can always let that soften, right? So if you've got any thoracic outlet or impingement in your shoulder around the AC joint, make sure that you're kind to your arm. You might find that one side moves in a lateral flexion direction easier than the other, or it might take more time on one side to get there. Give yourself just a few more breaths. And soften at your elbows, your hands toward your body. Inchworm your way back to the mat. Uncross your ankles. You can bend your right knee. Find your foot. Undo. Keep both knees bent. Put the strap to the side. You can roll to your side to come up or rock and roll. And then you'll need to pull in your chair thing if you have one. And then your right leg is going to stretch long and go underneath the legs. The sole of your left foot into your right leg. Feel free to throw something underneath your left knee. And it doesn't have to be inside your thigh, it could be inside your knee, but coming into this sort of Janusz feeling. And you're close enough to the seat itself that if you lean over, you can rest your head on it, right? So that's what you want to be able to do. Jean, if you turn your chair so that the front edge, so that's going to be the closest edge to you, exactly. Take your right hand, reach underneath, and reach for the back leg. So you're reaching across toward what would be the left corner of your mat. And that should get you close enough to bring your ear down to the seat surface. And you can always move the chair surface back closer to you, right? And then you can use your left hand on your belly to turn your belly open. And you might feel how that gives you more rotation through your head. So you're moving more onto the back edge of your skull, off your ear a little bit. Your left hand can stay down on your left thigh someplace there, or you can start to reach your left arm alongside your head. And if you're using a real chair, you might be able to grab the back, or you would put your back against the chair. And you can walk down the side, Veronica, of that instead of reaching for the top of it. And you might just have to adjust where your chair is. Right? If there's no back, Patricia, don't worry about it. It's just as nice to have your hands down, not doing anything, I think, right? Because it's focusing on shortening your right waist, this side bend, and opening up your left waist. And, adding your arm is fancy, but not necessary. You might feel that now that you're in it, if you let go of the leg that you're holding onto, the chair leg, you can press your elbow against your inner thigh and rotate a little bit more space. So my right elbow is pressing against the inside of my right leg, and it allows me to rotate just a little bit more. And breathing in. Completely breathing out. Couple more breaths there. If you're holding on to the back of your chair, let your left hand come back down. You can use your left hand on the seat surface to help yourself come out of the side bend. And then set it up for the other side, right? So now your left leg will be underneath. And your right knee in a bend. Reach with your left hand diagonally underneath the surface of the seat so that your hand can grab the leg. Roll open so that you're bringing your left ear. And if it feels like a big drop, Patricia, for your head to go down there, yeah, throw your blanket on top. Give it a fold or two, right? Because you want to feel like you keep the length and the integrity of your neck. Your right hand can help roll you open some. If you've got a back to your chair, your right arm could reach up and over. And it might be the top or it might be the side. So if you reach the top, you could walk backward in space with your arm and let your hand grab what would be the edge of the chair, turning your right thumb toward the ground. Or you could walk your arm more into line with your face so that your thumb turns up to the ceiling. So you could be on the top or either side of the chair, depending on what your shoulder would like to do. And then you might soften your left elbow, press your elbow against your inner left thigh, and roll open some more. Yeah, if it ever starts to feel like too much in the shoulder, Erica, you can let your right hand drop, and the back of your hand could just tuck behind you for a moment. Not trying to wrap around or go anywhere fancy with it, but just letting it slip behind you. Just a little bit more there. Good. Move your right hand over to the seat surface. Press it down. Sit yourself up. Undo your legs. Move the chair thing out of the way. And here's the moment where you're going to need some piece of wall. Your loop can open up to slightly bigger. So it's just, I don't know, it's like the length of my hand now. It's still not a very big loop. And if you can, hopefully you can make this out, right? So if I lie down on the floor, both my knees are bent, both feet touch the wall. And I want to keep the bend in my knees, and then I'm going to use the strap to grab hold of my right foot. Right? So I can hold on to it, and you could stop right here, right? Or begin to move your right leg out to the right side. But unlike sometimes, that leg can really move toward the ground, and I'm pushing the floor away there, and then cultivating this sort of banana side bend over to the right. So my left waist is very long, my right waist is very short. My left butt cheek has come off the floor. Right? So I could hold on to my foot with my hand if I don't want to use the strap, but I'm still side bending over to the right. So pressing the wall, getting the space, side bending to the right, and then you can open up your left arm. So you have this reach with your left arm. And then the same thing would happen on the other side. Yeah? Good. So stay for a few breaths. You're all in it. Great. Last breath there. And then soften your left knee first. Soften your right knee. Guide your right foot toward the midline. Unloop it. Even out your spine. Scoot in a little bit closer to the wall so you can establish the bend again. And then loop your left foot. Hold the loop with your left hand. Happily stay right here like you're just taking a high step. Or begin to press the wall, extend your left leg, let it lengthen to the left. Side bend over to the left side. Move your spine a little bit in that direction. Press the wall with your right foot. Your right arm can move out sort of diagonally away from your body. Patricia, see if your left leg, does it feel like it's moving perpendicular to your spine? It's a little hard to tell from this angle, but it would be like being in an Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana B. So I would have one leg out to the side. Yeah, keep going. Yes, all the way out there. 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 That feels different, right? And the trick, Patricia, is if you start with your left knee bent, and then your left hand could be closer to where the buckle is. Just make sure you're not going to slip off your toe there. I don't want the belt to go flying into your face. Does that feel different? Probably dramatically so, right? Give yourself one more breath. Good, and then soften through both knees. Undo the loop. Bend both knees, walk in. Roll to your side. And then when you rest, you have some options, right? You've got this chair thing, so you can put your legs up on the chair. And rest with your legs elevated. You can rest in a Shavasana with your legs out long. You could cross your legs, sit in front of the chair, and put your forearms up on top of the surface, and take a little fold here. Options for you, do as you need. Choose the one that makes you happy. Choose the one that feels like the least amount of work and effort so that there's the most amount of ease. Loka samasta Sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta Sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta Sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta Sukhino bhavantu. Take a deeper, fuller breath in. Move your body. Start to roll to your side to find your way up to sit. Bring your hands into your heart. Breathe all the way in. We are one life, we are one light, and we are one love. I bow, honoring the divine in each of you.